This is Anthony Roberts, host of The Reality Is Where Filtering Becomes Extinct, man. We got a full house today. When I say a full house, I'm talking like, what's that dude? What's the white dude? That's what I'm saying. John Savage, that is. I don't know. I was about to say, with the Olsen twins. Yeah, we got a full house. Bob Saget. What did you just say?
I said John Savage.
I was really trying to figure it out.
Dan Savage. No, but
there's Ben Savage and Fred Savage. I'm about to get like TV nerd.
If it ain't, let me stop. I know that's why you did.
Ben Savage is Boy Meets World.
Yes, and then Fred Savage did the Wonder Years.
And then Dan Savage does the podcast.
And Macho Man Randy Savage was on 26 inch. So we plan on having a Savage show today, man. So we got my special. Well, first of all, we got my co-host Gabrielle Johnson. Thanks for coming back. Allison Phillipson. I interviewed her yesterday. Ashley. What's Allison?
Allison's her sister.
I'm thinking about the Olsen twins.
Allison's her sister.
Yeah, I don't know. I do this every show, every time. Yes. But Ashley says she enjoys you on the podcast. She's like, oh, her laugh is infectious and contagious. It is very horrible. It's great. Yeah. We'll at some point it's coming. We got our guest co-host in here, Reggie Atatula. Did I pronounce it right?
Hey man, that was perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Are you part African?
I'm full African.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. We just and then we got our special guest, man, the homeboy, Jason Criddle. How you doing today, man?
A little African.
A little African.
A little less than 100.
As soon as this keeps jumping in, they must have switched the internet service up here. It keeps popping up. So before we get started and get everything going, this is Podcast Appreciation Month. I don't know if any of you knew that.
Yes.
I was listening to Anna Sell's podcast, and when she said it, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to talk about what I appreciate, what I love about podcasting, and then around the room. Have you ever been on podcasting?
I love podcasting.
Okay, that's what's up. So for me, personally, podcasting, I love it because it allows you to be free. I think we all know about the FCC rules and stuff like that, to where if you're on CBS, you really can't say all the things that you really want to say, or it has to be whitewashed in a way, to where you can't just really talk about things. So to be able to bring it together, bring people together, bring it to a podcast, to where you could have your own personal perspective and spin on things and keep it real, which is why we call our show The Reality Is. So for me, I had a job. I just got a new job, and the guy was like, I heard about your podcast. I was like, okay, you found it. That's good. I was like, it's very edgy, so hopefully I still get the job. But he was like, so what do you like about the podcast? Why do you, if you had your dream job, what would it be? And I was like, I'm already doing it because this podcast allows me to sit down with Arabic people, Muslim people, Black people, white people, Mexican people, and talk about different things that people really don't talk about. So that's what I love about podcasting. I'll throw it to Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you reading something on, you looking up what to like?
Snapchat.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, no, you're like a teacher. Gabrielle, can you read?
Can you read, please?
Can you read, please?
Oh, is it on your phone?
Oh, you don't know where you're.
If phones are going to be a problem, I'm constantly looking at mine. So I'm listening.
No, you're fine. I just do it.
I'm just making sure.
Can I make a phone call?
Yeah.
Give it a shout out. I can do it if you want to.
I think that what do I like about podcasting? Well, I've been doing this for a year, but I like conversation. I like to talk. So I like having good conversations, thought-provoking conversations. And sometimes I feel like it's a break from all the serious, person news. You can come in and just, make it short and whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then like listening to it doesn't make me go like this. And sometimes all the music is kind of like music now is kind of trash unless you like, go on a scavenger hunt for some good for something good to listen to. Right. So
Reggie, what you like?
All right, I'm gonna try not to spend too much time. I like hearing myself talk. I'm sorry. I'm very good at this.
Ain't gonna keep y'all on.
Yeah, right.
Long story.
Right. Quick side note: I just graduated from UTA. Our commencement speaker, he kept resetting the clock on his speech, and it made me so mad. He was like, "I'm only gonna spend 10 minutes," and then like 5 minutes, he's like, all right, and that's why they brought me here to talk for 10 minutes. I was like, no. You done already ran 5 minutes on the clock. But why do I like podcasting? I'm going to bring this from more of a radio perspective, like traditional radio, because that's where I come from. Yeah. And it's because it opens up the field of those who can speak. It gives voices to those who were typically voiceless. Before it was more of a big media conglomerate. Those were the voices that were heard. Those were the people who got to decide who voices were heard. With podcasting, it really brings it to the point. Anyone can make make a podcast and talk about what they want to talk about. And furthermore, it also allows a more, nuanced discussion about things that wouldn't get on air. Like, some people can talk about video games, and that's all they talk about, and that wouldn't make a radio show 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah. So, like, stuff like that, you can get more nuanced conversation from more voices, more people can do it. I love it. It's absolutely.
Right. And Reggie is black, people. He just has a very great voice.
We've already said because he's 100%.
But he's 100%.
You don't know. I could be South African.
Right.
Yeah.
But I code switch. I do that a lot, and I realized that recently. I did grow up in the suburbs. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point. But I code switch a lot, so you might hear that pop out. Like, sometimes I don't.
Hey, it's all right with me, man. And Jason, man, what do you love about podcasting since you've been in the game and been on it for a while?
Freedom of speech, to touch on what you guys touched on exactly. Like, we live in this world where everything's been forced in our throats. Like, talking about this for the last week or so. Like, we're told to buy a certain car. We're told to buy a certain loaf of bread. We're told to eat this food and go to this restaurant. And so we're all living in this pattern. My stepson said to me, whenever I go to these radio shows, he's like, are you getting on the phone radio or the real radio? And I told him, I was like, it's only going to be a matter of time before it switches and this is the real radio, because these are real voices, real people. Like you said, everybody should be able to start a podcast. We should have support behind us for that. It should get broadcasted everywhere.
No, I definitely agree. Now, I wanted to, I was asking Arteezy, she's a consultant for my show, and I was like, she got the email from you guys. I was like, how did they find us? So my question is, how did you guys find us?
Fishbowl Radio Network is pretty cool, man. I got the app on my phone, and whenever we found out that it was broadcasted right here in Arlington, I just wanted to come up here.
Yeah.
So we found a couple of shows that we clicked with. I spend a lot of time talking to colleges, talking to students. I don't ever get to have the real parts of the conversation like I want to really talk about sometimes, So, it's fun to come up here. It's fun to meet cool people.
That's what's up. So, are you originally from Dallas?
Originally from Dallas, born in Farmers Branch, raised in Arlington, grew up all around here.
So, I was reading an article on you. She sent me the notes over, and one of the biggest things that stood out to me was she said that you lost 200 pounds. What clicked in your head that made you like, I got to get this?
My daughter started walking, and I've said it so many times. Like, I've said this so many times. Like, my daughter started walking, it clicked for me, and I was like, okay, I didn't tell her how to walk. She's gonna read a book. She's just watching this walk. She's gonna do every single thing that I do. And man, I mean, like, it wasn't just weight loss. It was a transition. It was just like it's a very emotional state of mind. That morning, I was brushing my teeth, and my stomach was moving after I brushed my teeth. And it's like, it's just reality,
So, all right, Jesus Christ, Tribe of Judah. I'm gonna let you know what just happened.
Because I needed it. I was not catching the vibe.
So
the lock talk button was turned off again by the people before us.
So
nothing that we just not one iota, and I never know what that word means, but it sounds good for right now.
You used it perfect.
Tribe of Judah, man. 13 minutes down the drain. I'm rubbing.
You got it on her?
Yeah,
we got it on
her.
We got it.
She's you rubbing your head, and I am perplexed right now.
Okay,
shit. I'm gonna have to start doing a better job.
So I have to tell you something. You know why I appreciate podcast media? Because we can still be here, and we're not being escorted out.
Not being escorted out of the building, man.
You guys have been off the air for 13 minutes.
But it's now this is where we win. So to roll back real quick, and we can still we ain't got to take no. We just take the break.
You.
Yeah, it's Anthony Robbins, host of The Reality Is, yada 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 yada. God damn it, Robin Judah.
What you should do is just flip out one of your old shows, put it in the beginning here, and see if anybody knows.
And just keep it going.
Right.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Somebody just be like, what were they talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess this is normal.
It's just normal. We were in the park, or on the park where we were talking to Jason about what made him lose weight, and he was telling us about his daughter. When he had his daughter started walking, and it just became a lifestyle. What I do love about it, because I just want to go back and tell everything. But the tripped out part about it was that when we found out was Jason was telling us that he wanted to start losing weight when he was brushing his teeth, and his stomach was kind of dribbling on his own. Yeah. That's the way he made it sound. So it was going back and forth. It was going back and forth.
I'm sitting there and I'm like,
it was crying.
you know that I'm just trying to make a, okay, let's see if I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I stop and it's like,
Alan
it's still going.
Oh, like Martin. Yeah.
Oh, man. My ears are hot. Oh, God damn it, Robert. That was one of the best introductions that was flowing right on through.
And they're never going to hear it.
They're never going to know about it. You know, this is about the third time, and we've been on Fishbowl for about a year. Probably the third time it's happened. One time we had one really, really good show, and it was like the first 20 minutes of it. I mean, it was nonstop. I think Michelle was there. This one, Gary and Christian was there. Yeah, it's my fault. I need to start checking the lock time.
I'm solution oriented, so what we can do is after the show, we just run that whole thing back. You know what I mean? We just throw it in there.
Throw it in there. We got different ways about it. But Jason, you also said you're from Dallas, and the thing that we brought you in today for the most part was with the weight loss. You said I read it and it showed that you ended up helping people lose 10,000 pounds collectively.
Yeah.
So how did you get that started? Was it like a run club or some kind of fit club you started?
Yeah, I actually did start a running club, but it was really when I got into the personal training industry. I think I'm a solution-oriented person too. Like I find problems, and instead of trying to solve the problem, I always think, well, we can go a step further than that and find a solution. That way, we don't even have to approach the problem anymore. We just have the mind shake and everything's done. But no, I started working at this really small town gym in Georgia. I had gone to Georgia for a couple months just to clear my head, and that's where I got my personal trainer's license. And all the people, it was just like this neighborhood gym. There were 20,000 people in the neighborhood or in the town. There were only 200 or so people signed up at this club. So I would just come into the gym and people would come in and work out and business like that. So whenever I went into the corporate side of things, it was like you can work with this person for 30 minutes and this person for an hour, and you can't talk to anybody or any of your friends or any of your family or anything like that. Whenever I left the gym, when I left the corporate again, I went out and started my own personal training organization, but I turned it into a nonprofit organization so that I could help reach more people through education rather than just having one-on-one time. And so I found a couple of gyms to partner with, and I could just go in for 2 hours or 5 hours or whatever, and people would just come in. And instead of me working out with one client or two clients at a time, I could work out with 22 clients and direct everybody. You're a fitness guy. You know, it can be done whenever if you have a good, solid coach, especially somebody who's lived it before. Most personal trainers that are in the industry were athletes in school, and they have no clue how to have their body.
Not at all.
And so they go become a personal trainer. They have the nice body, and people just follow them, and they never get results from their clients. Yeah. Once you start getting results, man, people just come to you.
It's so crazy because some of the people that I see in the gym, it's like I go to LA Fitness in the gym that I'm at. Out of 10 trainers I've seen, maybe 3 or 4 of them actually look like they work out. And they like the other ones probably are eating healthy because it's not about. I think a lot of times people think it's your body type that makes you healthy, but a lot of times it's not. But it's like I always see her have the employee of the month. It's this older white lady. She's you know what I'm saying. Oh, I forgot to go there. But she has the most clients.
Yeah,
she
has the worst body.
Yeah, she has the worst body, but it's like she knows what she's doing to transform people.
Yeah, right.
I saw one black chick come in. She had to be like 250, and a year later, I think now she's like 140.
Right. I think that lady that you're talking about, she was once like bigger than she is.
Yeah.
So I mean, she actually looks really good.
Yeah, compared to what she used to.
Right.
And everybody's body structure is just not the same. That's like I tell people all the time. They're like, "Oh man, you look like you're in great shape." And I'm like, "But I don't have a 6-pack. You can please believe that. I love to eat and I love to drink, and it's never gonna change. So long as my arms and my chest and shoulders can throw you off, you know what I'm saying? Hey, we'll keep it like that.
You can run far enough away,
yeah,
you know, to make them think twice about chasing you.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it.
I'm gonna need a minute.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't need to outrun everybody. I just need to outrun you too.
and just to throw a segue in there because I just realized we didn't even introduce who's all in there because that part got lost. So we do have Gabrielle in here as my co-host again today, and she sighs, and we have Reggie Attitude, the UTA graduate. I met you in the broadcasting program, and we have our special guest Jason Criddle. God dang it, I have to always say it. It's always there. Or I could blame us. Maybe
we need to pay attention.
We do need to pay attention. We could have somebody out there waiting to see if we, are on the air. That's what a producer does. But I think he did do that, but it was just 10 minutes too.
Was there like a fight?
No, a lot of times when we're here, like not to be funny, they love our show.
What made you look at the button?
When he walked up, I already know because it happens the same way every time. She walks in with a face like, please don't play my hair. And then I look and I'm like, shit, but it's not her fault. What's his name?
Oh, you gonna throw one under the bus right now?
Oh, my mom, and then I throw everybody under the bus. Anybody I can fit under there, I'm putting them under the bus.
Every show, I'm like, please don't say
anything. But my mom, she said my mom listens every day. My mama said, so she listened and she the one told us. But normally that's what happens. Two people will be listening. They're like, hey, I can't hear anything. Yeah, then you can't. I need to turn it this way. Yeah, there's a little spice in here today. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to fix it because it's not as cold as it normally is. But I also wanted to talk to you, man. I hope it's okay. I read that you are autistic, right?
Yes.
When I think about autism, have you ever seen what's the show we all talk about? Have you ever seen Parenthood?
No. I don't spend a lot of time watching
TV. So it's a little kid on there named Max, and when I think he freaks out when things don't go like he doesn't like anything out of line.
Yeah, right.
So
when
everything, if you say we're gonna be here at 1:45, he wants you to be here at 1:45, or he flips out.
Or he's like calculating the time. He's like, it's already 1:36. No way to make it.
There's no
18-minute drive.
Yeah.
He's like,
we only got 15 minutes. We're not gonna get there on time. The bus is gonna be gone. So when I think about autism, that's how I think about it. But when did you know that you were autistic?
In my early 20s, it was because I had an fMRI done. I was sitting down with the doctor and I was talking to him about these massive headaches that I always had. Yeah. But it didn't even necessarily have to do with the headaches. It just had to do with the way that I processed information. My little nephew, Sam, whenever he was a young kid, he's about 12 or 13 now, whenever he was young, very antisocial, very standoffish, very disconnected with his emotions and his feelings, and now he's got to the point where he is just an everyday kid in society, and I think it's because he wasn't given medication, just like I was never given medication for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what autism has to do is the way our synapses create proteins, the way we deal and handle information. So you can have one enlarged part of the brain, you can have one smaller part of the brain, something that interacts more than others. And so the different interactions that I have, I would say, Mark Cuban is probably right down the street from me. If I kick my ass, I think Mark Cuban has autism. People like Steve Jobs, these are people that had some traces of autism.
Yeah.
And the way that I process information, I don't understand. And the way that people hire me to process information for them. And so once I actually had an fMRI done, I still want to get a SPECT scan, which is a pretty cool piece of technology that Dr. David came up with. But everything just started fitting together and started making more sense. Why is it that I can find instant solutions to everything in real time, calculate balance in scenarios? That's the reason it was in me all my life, and then I lost this weight, and even though I had gotten healthier, I guess I'd done a lot of damage to my heart. That's got heart surgery. My first, what I call a near life experience, and that's when everything clicked. That's when everything in me, the education, the books, all the things that I had learned about myself, just kind of clicked. It was like, yeah, I can put this to use. And then just started company after company, idea after idea, started writing book after book after book after book after book. And it's the reason why I like to be on the radio, because it's my podcast appreciation for all the people that missed this podcast appreciation.
God damn it.
is I feel like myself whenever I sit here and I get to talk about things like this. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense, man. It's funny because most autistic people are smart. That's what they're known for. Like you said, figuring out different solutions in real time. Like I mean, are you good at Spanish?
He's trying to find a tutor.
He's scared.
You got. Wow. I like to make you got to be resourceful.
I ain't mad at it.
You know what I'm saying? If you can figure it out, because my conjugates are fucked up. I have no idea.
So if I can learn the language in like 2 months.
Shit. I've been taking Spanish for like 40 years.
Right.
I hola, como está usted?
Right.
And when somebody says it's a janitor at my old job, and every time I remember the first time I met him, I met him, he gave me his name, I told him my name, and the next day I came up, I said, hola, como está usted? He said, muy bien, some, and I said, hey, whoa. That's all I know. I thought you was just going to speak back to me, and we was going to be cool.
Is that one of those you took off running the other direction?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, though. I'm in the same boat as you. I can start a conversation, but it ain't going nowhere. We're going to start it.
Well, I can understand it, but I can't talk back. So if they're talking to me, I can
grasp what they're
That's a
saying.
fancy way of saying I don't know.
Right.
No, I know what they're saying, but I can't talk back to you.
I can't talk back to you.
Yeah, I can't talk back.
A lot of people say that because when you hear those words, you make sense of it, and body language, and Spanish, and then their body, like you said, body language, and then the way their emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like if you've never seen Bloodline on Netflix, it's this part where this Hispanic guy, his daughter died, and he was he was speaking in Spanish to one of the cops to relay it back to the cop who didn't speak Spanish. But the whole time he was talking, I was just looking at his body language, and I was like, yeah, he went and killed that dude because he felt like the police was not doing their job. After he relayed that whole message, that's pretty much what he said in a nutshell.
But if you listen, some of the words sound like sound like
Some of the
you just gotta kind of pay attention.
Mickey Mouse.
They'll say one word.
When I was in high school, I used to work at Sears. And on Sunday, that's when all his fans go shopping.
Yeah.
Because this is my theory. That's because
Sears Roebuck.
because they all live together.
Yeah.
And the one person who speaks English, that's their day off.
So anything they do is a family.
So everybody has to go on this day because there's one person speaking.
If you want your tip cash,
right?
You coming with me.
On Sunday, we're going to Sears. We're going to the mall. We're going into town. And so they would always be speaking to me. And then that's when I was, experienced school. So I felt like I was
you feel like
bilingual.
You know, what sucks,
I knew colors.
What sucks though is that how terrible of human beings we are that none of us can speak Spanish. Yeah. My buddy Carlos, he lives in China now, and he's from Peru. the point of view that he took in business. And so he was talking about how arrogant Americans are. Because he said that he helps people market their businesses to the Hispanic culture, but he said that we don't understand that, like you were saying, you have 40 different languages, all these different dialects, different values, different monetary systems, all this different stuff. And then here as an American, American will go, well, I want to give my stuff to the Hispanic community there. And they're not thinking about what they're not thinking above anything other than, well, I'm an American. Yeah. We speak American.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, it would be the same thing. I mean, just think if somebody wanted to say, well, I want to get my product or my business to the Asian community. Well, we all know the Asian community is bigger and consists of all these different cultures. So why would we just assume that every Hispanic person is from Mexico?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Now, it's a lack of effort. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it goes back to what you're saying, but like, really, what you were speaking to about there being, different cultures within, this larger Hispanic, I guess, Latin American, or I mean, there's a lot of ways being classified, and I do never remember the right way, so I apologize if you're offended. But it's just they'll understand if you put forth effort. A lot of times it's because people don't put forth effort. People are like, it's the same thing as when people don't try and pronounce your name. If people try and pronounce your name, you understand, like, especially if you have a hard name. Now, when you don't have a hard name, it's a little annoying. But, when people try, you give them a break. But when people are like, can I call you Larry? I don't even care what your name is, right? Like, that's when it's, it's frustrating because it's like you didn't try to understand me as a person. You didn't try and reason with me as a person. You don't see me as a person. You see me as something less. And I think that's where it comes to.
I haven't gone to France or Italy or anything like that, but I have had a lot of friends who traveled outside the country, and I hear this a lot. You guys have probably heard it too. If you go into a restaurant or go into a grocery store, you try to ask for, and you don't even try to speak their language, nobody will help you. But if you pull out the dictionary and you show that you're trying, then everybody will start speaking English to you. They'll treat you different. Because one of the things that I always say, I have a software development team that's in India, and I don't care if I offend anybody with that. If somebody says, "Oh, you should be giving jobs to people here in America," well, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with I have a team of people that have zero expectations, and they offer so much.
Yeah.
When the typical person here, we have so many expectations, and we don't offer jack shit to society.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And with you saying that, I wanted to talk about you. You created the Smarter app. So how did you come up with that concept, and tell us a little bit about it?
I believe in a different future, man. I don't think that a car salesman has ever sold a car. I think we sell cars. I think that we sell our clothes, we sell the shoes. I mean, I want to buy those shoes that are on your feet right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
what are those, the Currys? Is that what those are?
No, absolutely not. That would mean my granddaddy.
So, no, I just, I consulted with multi-level marketing companies for a while, and I would help them with their compensation programs, help them with training, whatever. But one of the things that I learned in multi-level marketing is it's old and it can be updated. And I don't think that people need to have to buy kits or be forced to buy a certain brand, just like we were talking about in the part of the radio show that got cut off. We shouldn't be forced.
Just keep bringing it up.
Yeah. I'm living in the past.
You just keep bringing off the name.
But I don't think that we have to. I don't think that we have to do business the way that we're doing. We designed a piece of software for people to be able to make money off of purchases that other people are doing just by building a shopping network. But at the same time, we built a piece of software so that you can at the end of the day, multi-level marketing is really good for building assets. And assets are what everybody needs to build income. An asset it's going to make money for you when you're not doing anything. So we built a piece of software in our mobile phones to allow anybody to build an asset. And so, like, if a company, if any supplement company, if any company of any kind wanted to build a big, nice referral network for their company, they can just come to us. We have the patents on the software, and we can take your radio station, we can turn it into an asset-generating, money-making machine.
We need to be talking about it.
For sure.
So I know you were saying the app is projected to give back $1 trillion of income by 2019. That's very full. How is that? Like, how did, because when I look at this, I'm thinking $1 trillion that it's going back out to everybody.
Right.
How is that even possible?
So, what I was saying about the brands that we buy and the things that we do, you know, everybody's waiting for more jobs to be created, and everybody's waiting for somebody to turn something around. But what we can do is repurpose things that are already here. So, you know, you have all these different companies that are out there that are building all different new buildings, and there's all these buildings that are not being used.
Yeah.
So you have to find a solution for that. Well, it's the same thing with the clothes that we buy. You know, our government can only do so much. There's not a whole lot that people can do to help unless mass people change and start doing things to help themselves. So you just change the way that people buy things. You change the way people use their cell phones. Make these little subtle changes that allow people to make money for themselves by referring people into all these different software programs.
Yeah.
The corporations that have been running our country for so long, I say $1 trillion, dude, that's a joke. It's a drop in the bucket if you compare what Target and Walmart, that's and Six Flags, and everybody that's making. I mean, they're creating our economy that's worth hundreds of thousands of trillions of dollars. So what we can do is we can take, instead of taking profit from an item that's sold and giving it back to the retail chain, we can take the profit from an item that's sold and distribute it back to a network of people. So whenever I say I want to give $1 trillion back, I want to give $1 trillion back just to show that it could be fucking done the whole time.
Yeah.
Just to show that you guys can be making purchases and buying food and going to restaurants and doing all this stuff every day. We're making so much profit on it that we could pay for your school, and we could, you know, we could buy you a new car, and we could do all this stuff where you guys are not doing. So just build a piece of software where we can share something on our phone. We can say, hey, you should try this brand out. And you download the app and you make purchases and you share people. You do it with all different kinds of brands. All doesn't matter.
Everybody's blown away by this rain. I just looked up and I'm like, damn, is it foggy?
I looked at it and I said, oh,
What the hell going on outside?
I felt like I didn't have like a good attention span, but I'm glad to know everybody else is paying.
Yeah.
Because I was looking out here like, where?
Yeah.
I was also trying. I thought I was a meteorologist for a minute because I was like, all right, is that cloud moving fast? Is it going to be here for a minute? Like,
What's going on right now? You also had inside the app, you have something about it's called Churches and Charities Donation Program. The reason I like that is because you have it set up to where I think you said you use a passcode to where the money can be distributed to where it's supposed to go.
Exactly.
And I think that's important because a lot of churches be stealing. So I thought that was a pretty dope thing to create that passcode.
A lot of
in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it's not just churches.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's I think you're talking like 90. I had this talk. I had this talk with my kids. You should have been there for this talk. I said, okay, so I'm explaining to them what a church is. A church is a building that provides a service for income. Taco Bell is a building that provides a service for income. But if you don't go to Taco Bell and spend enough money, does anybody ever tell you that you're going to go to hell for not doing that? No, it's just an organization that's designed to take on money. So most of our same nonprofit organizations that are being run right now by these huge, big corporate conglomerates, they're just taking 90% of what they're taking in and they're giving it to the profits of the people, like the people within the organization. They're not actually doing research or doing anything to try and make the world better. So we came up with this program where somebody could share a passcode, and then we make sure that those earnings go to that organization. Not only do they go to that organization, but we'll double or triple the amount of earnings to that organization. We'll always double, we can triple it if we can. So we're taking enough profit, and even though we're distributing this profit back into, we still have enough profits where we can do free money Fridays and take on bonuses and get to the point where we are buying people life insurance and health insurance and paying for people's cell phone bills just because they're building their networks bigger. And because they're not tied to a brand, that's what makes it even more powerful. You also had one, now I'm going to read this verbatim for people out there who probably like this thing. You also created a business incubator which helps with providing assistance through education, mentorship, publishing services, which in the end creates commerce for communities.
That's one of the things though, like on top of all of this, you're saying, are you talking about helping out the churches and nonprofit organizations and education? And to me, I always talk about, especially in the Black community, how can we create real wealth? How can we give back? How can we create commerce in our community? And this app seems to encompass all of those attributes.
Yes, I think the problem that a lot of new business and entrepreneurs and everything they get short-sighted and so focused on making income that they don't figure out how to circulate income. Money is currency, so it has to flow. You don't need to build a product that people buy. You need to build a platform for people to make purchases and sell things through. You like the New York Stock Exchange or a banking system. And the bigger the system that you can build, the more money that you can ultimately make. The whole thing is I'm a bad motherfucker and I want to give back. I believe that I'm supposed to be a superhero and my purpose is to do all these things. So I'm just going to keep on doing them. So, our foundry, we're at the point where we need to open up a corporate office. I don't want to open up. I fired my board of directors, man. Like, I don't want to open a corporate office. I want to take, especially the South Dallas community. People are like, why are you opening your foundry in Grand Prairie? Why don't you bring it to Frisco?
I love his voice.
Because everybody would fucking take their thing to Frisco.
Yeah, Frisco, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What about DeSoto and Oak Cliff and Irving and stuff? In the part of Irving that people aren't paying attention to. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people need opportunities too. So now an entrepreneur, if somebody in Frisco wants to build something better, then they're more than welcome to it. Yeah. But we're going to have the right people. We're going to have the environment. We can take an entrepreneur. We can provide them with our publishing company. They can get business cards printed. They can make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They can have daycare. They can have access to investors. They can have help getting their company to the point to where it's invested in. If they need to wrap their car for their business, they can do it all in house. It's going to cost them $200 a month.
And I think, don't they have Netflix out in Frisco now? Like, they are building they're basically trying to make like a Texas-sized Silicon Valley. And they're starting it out in that area in Frisco. And I think it's in Louisville where all like the Capital One and all that stuff is. Plano. Yeah, but it's like that part of Plano where they're building up. But I mean, I agree with you, and I think a lot of times we do forget about, like, as you're saying, the little people. We want to go out to Frisco. We want to go to those places. I mean, to be honest with you, where white people are comfortable, to me. And like, if you try to sell a business, like if you were like, hey, let's go to DeSoto or let's go to the south side of Dallas, I want to have this meeting there. A lot of people outside of, prominent people, affluent people, white people, they don't know that there are hidden treasures and diamonds in the south side of Dallas. No, you find in the south side. They don't know.
She was apologizing for kicking me.
Yes.
Oh, you kicked me?
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you just fucked it off. No, but I really do. I like what you're doing, man. I like where you're going with it. I do wish you a lot of success with it. The first hour is almost over. You're more than welcome to stay the second hour if you want to.
Yeah.
Because the second hour we talk about pretty much anything.
Oh, we're not doing that.
Well,
It's real professional.
yeah, we try to let people know, hey, we can talk about more than bullshit.
Substantial
Yeah.
and
We want to educate.
real educated.
Well,
Right.
okay, so let's get on it then.
But
The next hour you should be a real motherfucker.
all right, we're gonna take a quick break again. You guys are listening to The Reality is Where Filter Becomes Extinct. So as you guys know, the second half of the show, we do what we do. Talk about whatever. Race, religion, people on the street, people in the studio now. So Father's Day is coming up, man. We can start with Reggie on around a good Father's Day joke, memory, or a bad one. Or we can start with me.
I was gonna say, you start with me. Like I said, I like to hear myself talk. That was before.
That was before. Yeah, nobody heard
my
that.
bad. But yeah, I like to hear myself talk. And like on this, like when we talk about Father's Day, actually I didn't grow up with my dad, and I don't really talk to him. That's actually my decision.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not like bitter or anything. I have nothing against him, but I didn't grow up with him. And I feel like a lot of people with Father's Day and Mother's Day, to like a large degree, try and impose the way that you're supposed to feel about it.
Yeah.
And like I don't feel any type of way about Father's Day. Like make that clear. But I feel like people try and impose the way you're supposed to feel about it, one way or the other. Like you're supposed to, like, especially Mother's Day, it's like, oh, well, you have to heap praise on your mom. But there's some people that didn't have that type of relationship with their mom. And same with their fathers. And obviously that's a little bit more because that's kind of lead.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's people that say, you know, you gotta feel this way. Or there's some people that are like, oh, well, you can't feel that way because I didn't have that experience. And that's not really the case. I'm like, my big thing about it is just like, you know, get it where you fit in. You know, if you want to celebrate, you know, a great relationship that you have, I'm happy for you.
So have you ever met your father?
I have.
Yeah.
He was a weird dude because he actually lives out here.
Okay.
But I'm from Houston, and like I met him when I was young, about like 2-3 times maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe sent me like a couple of cards on like a couple of birthdays.
Yeah.
That's about it. And then when I was 18, up in college, he decided he wanted to start calling me. I don't like at this point. I don't really need you. Like, and that's what was my decision. I was like, I have no adverse relationships or feelings towards you. You know, you live your life. I want the best for you, but I don't really want to.
Just haven't been around, so it's no need for it.
Exactly. So that's me.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree. I know you got.
See, that's what I said. Like we starting over here. Okay.
Hey, it's gonna end like that. Too, so.
I mean, I agree with you because, like, I know for Mother's Day, just think about that. A lot of times I didn't have my son because I mean, for me, I felt like I'm gonna have my kid every single day. So it wasn't a big deal for me. Until it became a big deal for him to want to celebrate me, I mean, he would always bad for Mother's Day. And it's just like, because it's that, right? Because he would want stuff with the grandma and all this kind of stuff. Like, whatever, I don't care. You know, he buys me things all the time. He asks me, can he have $5?
Yeah.
So you bought me
I buy me gifts all the time. Okay, sure. But let me borrow $5 real quick. While I give you a surprise. So my dad, I did grow up with my dad, and my dad is, I mean, we went through a little phase where, I mean, I really didn't care for him too much. But I mean, now, like, even during the phase when I didn't care for him, I still always called him. He would always make me upset. People would be like, why do you always call him every time you got the phone, like you're upset? It's like, I don't know, I just could never just be like, skip, I ain't moving with him before. But now we're like in a really good space. But probably like the best thing that I can remember my dad is when I was married, I would always call him. And I don't know if this is good or bad. I was calling him whenever we got into it because my daddy would always kind of like make me see it from my ex-husband's perspective. So I felt like, you know, he was never, my dad's not that person who's just kind of like, he on my side just because he's my dad. My dad will call me out on my shit and he would be like, you're wrong, you need to calm down, it's not that big a deal, or whatever it is, and I kind of appreciate that. And the older I get and the more I date, I used to always say I did not want anybody like my dad. And now it's like, what's changing that? And I'm just saying because not his bad shit, of course.
Keep that shit there.
Right. But my dad is he takes care of, he makes sure his family's taken care of. He is very good with money. He's almost cheap, but he's
right on that line.
Right on the line. He's frugal.
Right.
He's very smart with his money. Like my dad, like he could probably build, you know, a $500,000 house. But he's staying in a little, you know, house that was his wife, you know, his wife's family, and I mean, he lives a very simplistic life, and he could do more. So I mean, it's just like the more that older I get, and then I have to talk about my stepdad too, because my stepdad has been
two for
right. Yeah, my stepdad has been in my life since I was 14. So I mean, he's been now in my life. I think this might have been mad, but I think more than he has it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's pretty cool too because he's fairly young. So like I can really talk to him about like I can be more relaxed. Like he's not like he is my dad, but he cool. You know, he cool. Yeah. Yeah, he younger than me. Yeah. Yeah.
Your stepdad's like 2 years younger.
We went to the same school. In math class, he used to always help me out. You know, he's not that young, but he's not that young, but I always give him shit. And I'm always like, oh, you finally growing up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, matter of fact, when my mom started dating seriously, he was 27. And I was like 15. Oh. So I was like, who is this? In his 20s. Like, I'm probably kicking it with folks in their 20s. Like, supposed to be, but, you know. So, I mean, he's real cool. So, I mean, it's my uncles. But
So what kind of I saw that. What relationship do you have with your father?
Oh man, I haven't seen him in years. We didn't. I have some pretty cool memories with him, but they were just so few and far between. I grew up in an abusive household, and it's really funny. Like when you're talking about Father's Day, when you're talking about relationships, I think we all have this idea of what these people are telling us what Father's Day is supposed to be. These people are telling us what relationships are supposed to be, what Mother's Day is supposed to be, and all this stuff. Like, I'm a millennial. You guys are all millennials. We grew up in a generation where our parents worked their asses off, and they were in that in between phase. You had their parents that built a foundation of buildings, and then our parents worked in those buildings. We were taught to be isolationists. We were taught to be independent. We were taught to be, self-sufficient and take care of ourselves from the time we were kids. So we suck in relationships. Like the typical, we have these relationships over and over, and we have the same relationships. And so Father's Day and Mother's Day, it's the same thing. Going.
What happened?
We weren't on the air?
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
Woo! This is why I need an executive producer.
Oh, man.
This is why.
I saw you.
Reggie, yeah, he looked at me like, he gave me a look like, you motherfucker.
I'm not good at hiding that.
Yeah.
And the worst part is I think I am, and it's not.
Yeah, no. When he,
No, I saw it.
Yeah.
I looked at you, and then
because they looked at him first, and then I was like, oh shit. And I looked at, I need an executive producer.
So what run it back real quick. What you
I
missed?
really do need an executive producer. I do.
That was a great show,
it
guys. We had so much fun.
2 great intros.
Like Max said, he said, until next time. Well, you can keep going with your
last
part.
episode.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be called too. That's exactly what I'm naming this
Well,
one.
my dad cool. Just wrap it up. He cool.
Your dad cool. We was talking about Father's Day.
I love him.
I don't really mess with that dude.
And Reggie said he doesn't really talk to his dad. Jason was Jason was really in the mix, but he was just basically kind of summing up saying how his dad was not, he didn't really have that big relationship with his dad, and certain things he remembered vaguely because they happened so few and far in between. And you can continue on now, man. I apologize.
We don't need to pull that Periscope video.
Right?
We really don't.
You know what? We'll make it a DVD. We'll call it the Lost Episode.
All right, there we go.
And
Boom.
And YouTube.
No,
This is why I tell you I need help.
that's.
Yeah.
But I also believe that that's the reason why we are the people that we are. It's
Yeah.
the reason why I became the father that I am. Like, I fought for my daughter in court for about a year and a half,
Yeah.
and I was fighting a system that was put in place just because I was a father. I wasn't even fighting against her mom for most of it. It was just this system. And even though Father's Day is coming up, I was walking out the door this morning. My daughter's like, "Hey, happy Father's Day." I was like, "Father's Day? No, it's coming up. I have a birthday. Who gives a shit? Like, why? Like, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
I got my daughter and I have the greatest relationship in the entire world, and I would rather she not know that there is some holiday called Father's Day where we all had to take this day and we're forced to say, like you said, off the air. We have to feel forced. Like, we have to say, okay, well, you have to feel this way about Father's Day, or you have to feel this way about Father's Day, or you have to do this thing based on the way we've all been doing things.
And one thing that I do like about my dad.
About my dad,
I was trying to
No, I know.
I was trying to specify, but I forgot. I don't
think
have to.
nobody-
Because
Yeah,
nobody knows.
nobody knows.
Nobody knows my dad.
It's our little secret.
One thing about my dad is he's always saying, "Give her, don't give me nothing." He's always saying, like, "What was that?"
That was just saying, lock away the key.
Oh. I'm like,
What's going on?
oh, Lord.
My titties show.
I was like, oh, I didn't want to look down.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
But my dad is always telling me, he always says, "Give her, don't give me."
Yeah.
Even if you can't afford to come home, don't even come home. Just call me, send me a text message. I'm telling you, he's very low key. He does not even care about Father's Day. Like, I'm going to go home, but it's not because he's like, "So you're going to come down for Father's Day?" It's like, whatever. I'm going to go home. And then if I tell him I'm going to take him out to eat, I'm like, "Come on, cook."
Okay,
It's really the best.
So you made him a macaroni necklace, but he
did.
what he like because you said he's
Oh
frugal.
no,
You
he's that
said-
type. He's not.
He ain't that would make him cheat.
Yeah,
You
you're
gotta
right.
cross that
You're
line.
right.
He like
That's
crossed
the
That's
lost
the
part.
line.
That's
That's
the
the
lost
line
part.
that nobody heard.
Yeah.
That one crossed the line.
Crossed
So
over.
he's not gonna
we really lost all the good
Yeah,
stuff.
we
he
did.
gonna hang it up. He gonna hang it up, but it's like he ain't gonna.
I'm hiring an executive. I need some help.
You say you hiring? Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you specify hiring.
Yeah.
he's
You
gonna
won't get paid.
You mean internship?
Motherfucker, like, I can do that.
Experience. Yes.
I'll pay you for $2.50 an hour. Oh, $5? Okay. Yeah, they ain't thinking about that. And there's no tips. No tips. Reggie, please give us a quick rundown. We got it. I mean,
Dang.
I know you don't really deal with him.
He lives up here. I lived in Houston. Didn't really talk to him. Maybe saw him a couple times. I feel like I'm trying to like speed talk this.
Oh, you just
Didn't talk to him. 250. Didn't really talk to him. So like, I came an adult under, I guess, our culture's perspective. I really feel like that's good.
I feel like that too.
Came 18 and he wanted to get in my life, and I was like, the need for it. But yeah, don't really talk to him. But I've been very blessed to have a whole bunch of really great male role models in my life, to where like I never really felt like I was lacking that. And
That's
my
not what
mom had strong, like very strong character to the point where like I never felt like you were lacking.
No, that was the same thing for me. My dad left when the first time he left, I was 8. The second time he left, I was 12. But even when he left around 12, he was only there for like a year. He came back. And then, like he showed up at my graduation. But like you said, when you go through these things where you fall in love, you get your heart broken, you have a friend, you get into it with your friend, and you ain't cool with your friend no more. When you physically hurt yourself and you learn how to dust your own self off, or like you said, if you're at church or school or wherever and you have that mentor that may not even know he's your mentor, but that person you look up to, you don't really need a father. You know what I'm saying? And then I think the one time that I really had a real conversation with my dad, I think I was about 24. I was dating this girl and I was 24 years old and I cared about her, but I really didn't know how to express myself. And I remember calling him because I was losing that girl. And I was crying and I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. How do I do this to quit making these mistakes? And he literally was like, I don't really know. I don't have an answer for you. You know what I'm saying? And nothing against him because my mindset was like, how could he? Because my granddad was married 5 times. So they never had anything consistent. Now my granddad is married and he's been married to this woman 20 years. But I think that was his longest marriage. You know what I'm saying? So he really never saw consistency or love. So how could you see it from me? But the one good memory I do have is when I probably was like 5 or 6. Anytime we would go to the grocery store, my mom would go into the grocery store and shop. And my dad we would play this game where he would make these noises, like this beat with his mouth. And me and my brother would have to figure out what show it was. He did like the Scooby-Doo theme song, like Sanford and Son. So that's really one of the biggest memories. And anytime we would go to Dairy Queen, he would always get the ice cream. I don't know what it's called, where you dip the vanilla and you dip it in the chocolate. And when you turn it up, it's frozen. Yeah. But other than that, I literally have nothing. And like you, it's like he reaches out to me still now to this day, but because I don't have communication. Sometimes when he talks to me, I feel like he still talks to me as if I'm a kid, like I'm the 12-year-old Anthony. He'll talk about the Cowboys and he'll talk about video games. And I'm like, I don't even really play video games. I don't have time to play video games. And I don't get to watch sports as much as I would like to because I am a man now. So you're running your own business. I'm doing photography, going to school, going to work 45 hours a week. Like I really don't have that time. So we don't have a connection. And it's unfortunate that all of us in here are Black men and we really don't have a strong connection with our fathers. And I think it's a generational thing that I hope within the next 25, 50 years is changing. You know, like you being there for your daughter. I don't think you have a kid. I don't have any kids. No. Do you have a kid? Okay. But it's like, I would think that in my mind, LeBron James says it all the time. He want to give his kids something that his father never gave him. And I feel like when I do become a father, if that ever happens, I will be prepared. For one, I didn't have it too young, in my opinion. And 2, I've kind of learned some things and went through some things myself to be able to pass on those attributes, or the attributes I want to instill in my kid. So
I remember.
bad kids.
Who, me?
Yeah.
You said you heard?
I feel.
Why would
like
you?
old parents have bad
Oh.
kids because old people they got a whole bunch of patience. And like,
She's
oh,
so
just
right
being
though.
a-
Like I've
they
noticed
just
this.
being a kid.
My mom got remarried, and so I have two half brothers. I don't consider them my half brothers; those are my brothers.
Yeah. I thought you were
But
gonna say I don't consider them niggas, man.
oh my God, I'm not that sad. But yeah, and this actually helps me because I feel like I understand in some way, a small way, kind of that paternal, relationship because like they do look up to me. But my next brother was born when I was 13, so how old is he? This is how I feel like a father. I don't never remember how old he is.
That's true. This
Never.
is true.
I'm always counting. I'm like,
Get
he was
big.
born in 05. He's about to be 11. Okay, all right. And then the next one is about 8, I think. 8, yeah. So like they're young. I really just did the math. They're young, and like I had to deal with them, and I learned. But I got way away from what I was talking about. She got remarried, and like my stepfather was cool. Like I got to have that relationship, which was dope. But like now my mom deals with those guys so much nicer. They do stuff that would have gotten me like concussions. Like they do stuff that would have got me knocked flat out. Like one hitter quitter, 2-piece in a biscuit type stuff. And like they'll just be walking around talking to her all the time. Well, I mean like not like super disrespectful, but like stuff that like I could never get away with. And I'm just sitting there looking at her.
Do they live here?
They live like down in Houston.
Oh, in Houston?
Yeah.
Is it in the suburb area?
Oh yeah.
Mostly white?
That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean
somewhat,
anything.
but
It's because she's old. I mean,
not necessarily
old, but you know what I mean. That's because she's
She
older.
said she was old. There was one day I was hanging out at her house and I was looking for something to drink and I opened the fridge and she had grapefruit juice and cranberry juice. That was it. It was that where I could get some water. And I was like, Mom, why you got all these old people drinks? Yeah. And she hit me with something I did not expect. She was just like, that's because I'm old. And I was just like, she said it in so matter of fact. I was like, oh, I didn't even like that wasn't something I was
You
thinking.
have to accept it. Last night when I was coming home, I knew I was old. My second drink, it was like, we want to go to the next spot. I said, I ain't worried about no girls tonight. I just want to go back and get in my bed and watch TV. I don't care about the extra girl. I mean, it was beautiful women out there. I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I just want to go home, have me another beer, and fall asleep watching
And
TV.
that's funny. I read this meme. I think it was this morning or last night when I was at home in my bed doing nothing. And it was like all of my childhood punishments are now my adulthood goals. Like I just want to stay at home in my room. Don't
I
talk
tell
on
my
the
daughter
phone.
the same thing. I tell my daughter, I told my daughter, I said, you know what I'm gonna start doing? When you get in trouble, I'm gonna go take a nap.
Right.
Like, and then you can pay the bills, and you can make sure the electricity is paid. You can go to the grocery store. You can do all that stuff. But no, man, like like I said, I went to court, and I remember saying to my attorney and to the judge that there is nowhere in any book where it is written in scientific law or anything like that that says that a mother is better at rearing a child, but I can give you all different kinds of documents, anything, just to show that what happens when a father is in another child's life. And I think, like you said, I think we're children of a broken generation. Like it's years and years of problems stacked up. And what my hope is that there are more, not dads out there like me, but more parents that are actually creating a family. Like one of the books that I was working on last year and it's never got it out was called Return to the Father, Return to the Family. And that's all I was talking about is we are a generation of men with nothing to do. We're a generation of men without a goal. And then society expects us to be fathers. It's because we're being told to do this and this and this and this. But most men that have illegitimate children, they weren't even trying to be a father when they had that kid. They weren't thinking about a dad. They were a completely different generation. That was a person that wanted to bust a nut and they ended up having a kid. And now they have 2 kids or 5 kids or 6 kids or whatever it is. I was the one that was holding off because I was like, I don't want to be a father. I'm going to turn my dad. My dad was a piece of shit, and I'm going to be a piece of shit. So I don't.
The same way.
And then, yeah, I think I've said it a couple times, man. I think if a father would just hold their child, just be there. If you're going to leave because of the relationship of being in the baby's life. Just hold your baby. And then you're going to be like, oh. I can be a dad. It's just like, you just feel this come out of you. It's like, yes, there were evil spirits. And then my dad's like, what? Like Ghost Dad, like Bill Cosby, jumps up. I don't know, what about, whatever. So anyway, that's what I felt like. And you hold your child, I mean, she's like really small, and I'm sitting here thinking like, damn, like I was this small one time. And what my mom told me, we were born at home. My mom told me, like, as soon as I was born, my dad said, I'm going to go wash the car. And he left for like a week.
What?
And I'm sitting here thinking, like, all I want to do is spend every single moment holding this child,
That's what our teacher always tells me, except like, I don't know if I ever know. But she's like, if you have one, and like you said, if you hold it or you see that child, it will change.
I don't know. Because I feel like I'm going to be.
We were getting all emotions. You were like, stop that. No.
So I'm telling you guys really going. No, but I feel like sometimes it freaks people out because I remember, of course, I don't know exactly how a man feels or what's going through his head, but somebody took a picture of my son's dad at the hospital when he was talking to my son, and in his face was looking like shit. So that's what his face looked like. It wasn't like
society, because of the generation. Like, okay, so like 100 years ago, people had their family, their faith, and their farm, and that was it. Like, you selected a woman that would have sex with you, and you spent the rest of your life with her. And then as they grew up, you started getting cars and TVs and jobs, and men started having more freedom, and people started being able to have the ability to cheat and go screw around and everything like that. At the end of the day, look at nature. We're just another animal society. Just because we figured out how to build that tractor doesn't make us smarter. It just means that we learn how to use tools. So most families, most fathers, most parents these days, they're not ready to be it. They haven't even thought about what it's like to be a parent. They just know that my penis got touched for the first time when I was like 11, and I wanted somebody to touch my penis again. So, you know what I mean? I'm going to grow up and see how many people I can get to touch my penis.
Don't say that. My baby's 11 years old.
I mean,
do you want to hear it, or do you want us to
act
not
like
say
it's
it?
because I tell our teacher the same thing.
Yeah.
She'd be like, "Oh, yeah, this." I'm like, "He's touching himself."
He's been touching himself since he was 6.
Yeah.
No way. Okay,
Well,
I
I mean-
will say that because he sleeps with his hand. He does. Like, I'll go in his room and his hand will be in his pants.
That's because he fell asleep doing it.
Yeah. It was like a cold brewski. He figuring that thing out. I'm just telling you, man.
He asked me this week if he get the Instagram or a Snapchat. And I was just like,
Yeah, it's coming.
I was just like,
Wait till you start finding the socks on
But
his
think
face.
about that. Think about 100 years ago.
disgusting.
Think
No.
about 100 years ago.
Young boys are.
Or even 50 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Like, think about 60 years ago when your parents said, you're going to find a nice girl and you're going to court her for years. And guys would sit there. Guys would go to high school and college and get a job and then say, look at me. And then a woman would say, okay, we can be together.
Yeah.
Now, a 12-year-old can get Snapchat and say, hey, you want to come over and touch my penis? And then, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no value.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's just a game. It's not being taken seriously.
But what you know is so funny that what you're saying, Jason, is also if you do have a man that's wanting to court a woman, he's thirsty.
Yeah.
If he's chasing, like,
That's
oh yeah.
the wrong woman.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but that's how a lot of women
You
think
right.
these
I
days.
mean, I guess.
You open the door, you
Yeah.
call her, like when you see a movie and you see that movie and that guy wants that girl's number, but the girl don't give it to him, but some kind of way he finds out how to get her number or her address, and he show up at a job, and she's like, "Oh, in real life, I'm like, security. How did he find me? That's not realistic anymore."
People are not, and I could be wrong, but I wrote this before, and a whole lot of women were. I said, women don't want a man that's in pursuit of a woman. Women want a man that's in pursuit of a goal. Like, women seem to be more attracted to men that have something bigger to do with their life. They're doing something. They're reaching for something. They're actually working their ass for something. Like, most of the men that are chasing, those are the guys that are sitting on their mom's couch. They're just, hey, girl, holler at me. Hey, girl, I'm hollering from the garbage truck, like on moving day, hollering from the garbage truck saying, hey, give me your number.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at the lack of value, the lack of worth that woman might not see in that person. I don't think that a woman is attracted to a Ferrari. I think a woman is attracted to the character that it took to get the Ferrari. Because this day and age, 2016, the bigger house, the nicer car, it is that alpha symbol that the women used to look for hundreds of years ago to find the guy with the biggest shoulders, with the Anthony pecs. Like, no, I'm serious, man. You take it.
I also want to say this: hoes out there to go for that Ferrari. I mean,
they're not thinking about what to do.
They ain't thinking about it. They gonna see the Ferrari.
So but you said some hoes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is women and it's hoes. It's like it's men and it's players.
Right.
We have demographics in those ways too. So finish what you said. So I think you're right about the whole like physique thing and whatever you're saying. I like the way you're taking it back.
But you know what? I'll say this too. I was going to say this earlier when you said about the legs. I don't. Maybe you can explain this to me. Back then, I feel like men cheated just like they do now, but it was. But they went. No, older people. I say older people that I know, they had plenty, but they always came home. They always took care of home. It was always like this. I'm gonna go play. And it was never. It was like. It was unspoken. So, like, the woman knew that this is what he was doing. But he had, I guess, enough respect to respect the household, still take care of his kids, still take care of his family, still go to work every day. And then on the weekend, he might be gone, doing whatever it is he's doing.
It's not necessarily respect.
I don't know what to say right now.
I generally try and, stay away from that recency bias because we do this and we kind of have a certain nostalgia towards the past. Try and make it seem better. We do this in music a lot as well.
True.
But we want to look back and say that it was better then. Humans are humans in nature. It's still very much the same. There was a lot of cheating in the day to day, particularly I'll think back to like the 60s, right? And the reason why, in some cases, people would stay and still have that home is because there was more of a stigma against it. You couldn't continue your lifestyle without having that family, without having the status of this is my trophy wife, these are my kids. So like, there's still that. There was that reason to have it, and then also, like you'd be shamed, you publicly shamed if you were breaking up the family just to go chase.
But now people they'll get in a relationship, they'll post on Facebook, I'm in love with this person, let's spend the rest of my life with the person, and a month later they're like, that person's a piece of shit, and I don't ever want to see them again. Yeah. And 2 days later, I found a new person and the whole time, what is somebody doing? Like reinforcing that behavior in us. And so, like you said, humans are humans. I appreciate exactly what you're saying. I think it's true that you might have had. What I was saying about options now is people don't have that society. There is no 9 to 5. There is no people that are going to publicly shame people. Mm-hmm. I could go cheat on 3 wives in a row and I could still be successful, and people would be like, that's the dude that cheated on 3 wives in a row, And then I could still build out my lifestyle and nothing would be affected.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Like, there were plenty of people. Eons, there are tons of people that were successful in spite of how bad they are. That's kind of the American dream. Right. Like, the American dream is you can be successful despite whoever you may be, or in spite of yourself. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that's changed. I think what's changed is the vehicles in which it's done, the ways in which we can see it, and obviously because you're speaking of social media, like, I think technology has made it so that it's more evident to a lot more people. Right. But I think that this stuff it might be more prevalent. And obviously, I'm not a social scientist to where I know like the stats and figures around it. But like, I feel like it might be more prevalent, but it's not as startling a jump as we would like to believe. Because I think in some ways we like extremes in general. We love to say, I love things or I hate things. There's never any gray area. It's very binary. So I think in some ways we want it to be, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, or it's the best of all time.
And if we're being conditioned to things to see it, then we're not going to make as big a deal out of it. If you had all the parents or all the family on the same street, and everybody was working at the same factory, and everybody was doing the same thing. You probably had a neighborhood bar where all those men hung out at, and you had the hookers that would go to the bar.
Yeah.
You know, like we now with the social media, with TV, with the way that everybody has more freedom, we are just seeing a whole lot of stuff more. Like, I mean, think about this, dude. Like, and I'm not trying to make this is not about race or anything.
Mm-hmm.
60, 70, 80, we had people that were marching in the streets and cops that were beating them, and then people that stood up to the cops, and then a stop was put to it. People will pull out their cell phone and record a cop beating the shit out of somebody. And I'm not even talking about like the good cop, bad cop, or anything like that. I'm talking about there is so much that we are just conditioned to that it doesn't even affect us anymore. People cheating in relationships, accidents, violence, whether it's a person beating their husband or wife, or you know, riots and people standing up for free speech and then being beat down and not being able to stand up for free speech or whatever. I think we just have so many more. Maybe that could be probably it. Is you didn't have TV, and then you had TV, and now you have 70 TVs that you interact with, you know, in all different manners and seeing all these different things over and over again. So before you just got your news from a TV, now it's like, well, that person's doing this and this person's doing this, and everybody's just kind of accepting that we're just human beings and we have human nature.
I don't think people are. I think people are not. I don't know. You're too very well spoken.
Right. I'm just like,
And I was going to tell him earlier, if you wanted the statistic that you didn't know, with the way you sound, you could bullshit, and people would have been like, "Oh, yeah," which is a part of what social media does.
Right.
It allows you to, no, exactly. But it allows you to group think, and it kind of goes back to what you guys are saying. But that's why it's important to have people that will call people on bullshit, to where, like, not to be funny, like you were saying, if a guy does cheat and mess around with multiple women, like we talked about it before, if you got that homeboy, if I'm your friend and I'm sleeping with all these women and I'm doing wrong, it has to be you or that friend that says, "Hey, like you going too far. You're doing a bit much," as opposed to the pat on the back, like, "Oh man, that's dope. She fine. Keep it up." I think it's we are in a society that and there's a lot of groupthink, but we just have to have people to be able to say that's bullshit. Hold your account.
Reinforce justification.
Reinforce justification.
It's no matter what it is, whatever behavior that you're willing to put forth, you have a whole bunch of people that have them on the back. I think that's why I got here. A lot of people call me a motivational speaker. I think I piss people off when I talk to them. But it's like you were saying about your dad. I don't stick up for my daughter just because she's my daughter. I remember the first time my daughter got bit by a dog. You know why she got bit by a dog? Because she was trying to pet the dog that was under the table. And I kept telling her, if you keep pet that dog that's under the table, like he's going under the table, get away from you. He's not going under the table, so you can chase him under the table. So she got bit, and then everybody stares at me like, "What's going on?"
Put the dog down.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's almost like the same as like when I was being parented as a kid. It's like, you know, have you ever been doing something as a kid and then your mom like, "You better not cry." So I told you, don't be jumping up back in that truck. You jump back in that truck and then you break your arm. You better not cry.
Right.
You just, so now you walk around like.
Trying to hold it in. And your aunt come out and say, "You all right?"
Well, my daughter did that the other day. She hit her foot. She hits her foot on the table. She's like, "I'm not gonna go." She's like, no, daddy, I'm okay.
Artesia just got a phone call with my son and the same thing happened. She's like, she's asking him, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And she's like, "Are you really okay?" He's like, "I'm okay." He's trying to hold it in.
He was convincing himself.
Yeah, she was like, "You're okay. Go sit down. Go do whatever you know." He's like, "Yeah, but I miss you." And I was like, "Man, here it goes. It's coming all downhill from there."
Right.
It's
Right.
just,
You know what?
that's
One time,
kids.
like this house I used to live in, the washroom was outside.
Yeah.
So Cameron was outside with me, and the wind blew the door. And this time he was smaller, so he was like right level with the doorknob, and the doorknob like hit him in the side. But it was hard. Like I thought someone had taken him to the hospital. It was like boom. He was just like, "Yeah."
That just happened.
I'm okay. I was like, "Do you need to cry?" He walks into the backyard and just like, "No."
He's trying to bend. But you know, it's so funny that you say that too, and I think it's important when we come back to men and how men treat women and needing men in society, because it's gonna take men, real men, to change society, is giving him a space to cry.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Because a lot of when we grew up as boys, they're like, don't cry, suck it up, whatever. You have to have some kind of emotional component
Yeah.
to your personality as a man, because if not, I mean, you'll never keep. Go ahead.
One thing I've always said is having my daughter taught me how to be a mom.
Yeah.
And especially raising her, on my own, it taught me how to be a mom and get more in touch with the emotional side of myself. And so now, whenever you're a parent, a couple of us in here are parents, what is the worst thing that could happen in your day? Is your child being hurt.
Right.
Like, whenever if I'm just sitting here and I think about my daughter crying for any reason, like, I'll want to start crying. Because you just do not want to see your child hurt. I think that, like you said, we were told not to cry. And it wasn't until I became a mother and then got in touch with my emotional self and started getting in real touch with my emotions that I was actually able to balance myself out of the human being.
I feel like that's somewhat problematic, though, and I don't mean to like try and chide you this way, but I feel like in that way,
I was gonna look at you like,
All right.
yes.
I'm about to change my voice. Go right ahead.
right. Okay, so I feel like you're still playing into somewhat I can't even collect myself. I'm still laughing.
That was good, man.
There's still this gender stereotype that we have that women have to do with the emotions. When I feel like emotions should be a part of masculinity. Like I think
Emotions have to be. Yeah, I'm
So,
touching on what he was saying.
when you were talking about being a mother, you're not a mother. You're still a father. You're just more in tune with those emotions and more empathetic and more sympathetic to those things. I wouldn't say you became a mother. I'd say you just became more in tune to those things, because I feel like in saying that you became a mother, you're still somewhat saying that being a father means not touching into those emotions. As a father, you can and should touch into those emotions. You know what I mean?
Yes, or I was touching on what. Or I was doing that. No, okay, so I remember whenever my daughter was 4 years old, and on her 4th birthday, I took her to the nail salon to get her nails painted for the first time. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and she's getting her nails painted. She's having the time of her life. And every single person that came in there was like, I just don't think the average father would think to do that. Why would a father? So it's not trying to play on any traditional roles or stereotypes or anything like that. I think that most people probably don't comprehend the world the way you and I comprehend the world. So I got more in touch with this completely different side that I was not taught to have. I grew up in a house where I was taught men don't cry. And it wasn't anything that I made choice of. We were taught not to cry. We were taught not to deal with these emotions. Don't get mad. Don't get sad. Don't do this. But then, yes, whenever you realize when you grow up, it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman or a kid or whatever, having tune with your emotions is exactly what you need to do. I had a lady a couple weeks ago that asked me, or a couple months ago, she said, how do you stay positive all the time? I'll stay positive all the time. I'm an asshole most of the time. I take the time to get angry, but I don't take that anger out on the world and unfocus that anger and make that anger about something that it's not. I use the creative emotion of anger in order to get past the problem that made me angry. So, no, I think we need to get away from the gender roles, the gender stereotypes and everything like that. I won't say that I turned into a mother. I will say that I started thinking about things that fathers just, that men my generation just weren't taught to think about.
No, I agree. I'm an asshole. I say it all the time. Artesia always says you would have to have a daughter to change.
Yeah, if I had a son first, there is no way I would be the person.
I don't want a daughter.
Wow.
You'll have to buy a gun. That's why.
That, and I just don't want to think about
Oh my
sexual
God. I
factors.
hope my
of
daughter
it.
ends up being
My dad cried when my mom later told me that my dad cried when I told him I was pregnant. Like the first time I was like, so I was on my period date. He was like, you can get pregnant. I was like, whoa.
Like doing what? Like wait.
Exactly.
What do I need to stop doing? What are you talking about?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was like, what are you talking about? Like I can get pregnant.
Like just right now? What is that?
When I was a kid, my mom told us that people people have babies whenever they touch each other when their hands are off. I remember in second grade, I made out with this girl Natasha in the reassignment class after school. I went the first day we just kissed each other on the lips. The second day we touched tongues and everything like that. And I was in second grade, and I went home and I told my mom that I got to go pregnant.
Oh man.
We are going to talk about this. What? Tell me exactly what happened. And I'm just sitting here.
And you start. I remember Goose. I probably could have carpet burned the shit out of any girl. I'd be goosing like crazy. That's why I say, y'all, if he's saying this in the second grade, and I was goosing in daycare, like pamper rub, what you think y'all sons? What do you think they're doing?
My son is he's not doing that.
That's what most people say. My son is not doing it. Yeah, he's not.
He might not be doing that, but
if he's sleeping with his hands in his pants, he is prepared.
Right.
He's asked me before, like, he was like, my balls hurt. So I don't know. Tell him I was like,
and tell him the milk is coming.
no, I just tell him. I just tell him come pop.
I don't even want to talk about this.
But I think you bring up an interesting point when you talk about that story from even second grade. I mean, being honest with your children in some way. I mean, I'm not saying you have to come out and tell them about everything. That's too much for them to handle. But in being honest with your children in some way, I think that will help that. And of course, I'm gonna make sure that I put out there that I'm 24 years old and I got a kid. So take that for what you will. Yeah. But
he's responsible.
I know what I'm saying is I don't know shit about this. Don't listen to
his voice.
I'm just saying, it might help him to be relatively honest.
But this is true. Now I am my son knows probably more than most kids, I guess his age, or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I tell him if he asks. The only thing I haven't told him was that he did want me to have a baby. He was like, I want to have a baby. And I was just like, well, I got to find a man first. And he was like, wow. I was like,
that's good. We're going to keep you right there. We're going to leave you right there. I didn't even know you was that innocent.
That's parking lot. He didn't come back to it. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. What type of Then he kept asking. So finally I said, when people are really, 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 really in love, that's when they decide they want to have a baby.
Or really, really drunk.
No, I don't want to. So I had to make it make it fluffy and
I have a book out called Everybody Poops in Their Pants, and it's just like I was
like, you just ripped the title and you have it in your pants.
Exactly.
Are you good?
And the reason why I came up with it is because I try to tell my 5-year-old daughter stories about my drunk friends shitting in their pants, in different situations. And like you said, you can find ways to talk to these children. That's good enough to put it in a little book. But we were not taught about sex. I learned about sex from finding a porno with my sister and her boyfriend over at his parents' house.
I watched it with my own boys.
That's I
know. I saw you look over at me. I'm not telling.
No.
This ain't a round table like that. I'm not telling.
But nobody ever sat down with me and said, "This is what happened." I thought babies came out of a belly button, and I thought men stuck their dicks in women's butts, and I thought like that.
At this point,
I thought that's what it was like until I see this porno, and I'm like, oh, that's what this can be used for. I'm going to train mine to be as good as you. Good boy. Good boy. I'm going to start right now.
I was the same way though, and I remember at the church I went to, they had a convention here in Dallas, and there was a guy. They had a little men's group, and it was the church trying to teach us about sex. But it was so funny because they were trying to teach us about sex, but they were saying nothing about sex. So the guy was like, "I have one question." I still remember this guy. Don't remember his name, so I don't have to call it. Anyway, so the guy was like, "So can you get pregnant from sticking in a girl's butt?" And everybody was laughing. So I'm thinking, why everybody laughing? Because all of us want to know this shit.
They're laughing to cover it up.
Yeah,
they're covering up. Answer that one. No, don't
heard people think that, girls can get pregnant from anal sex. Girls can get pregnant from blowjobs and swallowing because, a kid, if you're 11 and you say babies come from your stomach, they be like, well, if you give me a head and I swallow it, it's in my stomach, I'm going to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So it is things that you need to know and things that you should talk about with your kids. And not to be funny, like you said, it's good that you're doing it now because they can learn from school. And if they learn from school, they're just getting they're getting one part of the information and that ain't even correct.
Yeah, because he's even asked me before this when he was a lot smaller. He was probably like 6 or 7. And like I went to go pick him up because he had went to the reunion.
Yeah.
In the reunion with my dad because I don't ever go. So I picked him up and he came to first like, Mom, what's gay? I'm like, what? He was like, what is gay? I'm like, we'll talk about it later. He was like, is it when 2 boys kiss? I was like, well, in a nutshell.
You've got this one house.
I was like, all right. Sure it is.
And the thing about it is, though, you tell them those little things. You know what I'm saying? You give them those little nuggets of thought to where they put 2 and 2 together. And I get it's like a flower. You keep flirting, you keep watering it, and it'll flourish into what you need to be. Because if you give them too much all at once, they kiss and then they have sex. They can be like, whoa, I thought the girls, whatever. And if guys doing it in the, so you got to just feed it to them.
Yeah.
And they'll get it from here and there, and then you just bring it all together.
That's
how
how
we do it.
I would rather my daughter wear something for me than for somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we were even having a conversation about racism this morning because I had a talk with a gentleman yesterday who was white. He's married to an African American woman. He was talking about how whenever he grew up, it was unheard of, and then he joined the military right out of high school. He was in the military. Everybody gets married. Everybody's, and then, but in different parts of our society. And I was saying, I said, you will learn a completely different side of humanity if you have pigment in your skin. But then I was also reminded that you can also learn a completely different side of humanity if you are a white person that's in the family dealing with racism. Mm-hmm. My little girl is a quarter black. She looks white. At the same time, I'm still gonna let her know what this is. And the same thing, man. I don't want to, but there's gotta be a day where this is gonna come up and we're gonna have to talk about sex or something like that, and talk about these things that my parents never sat down and talked with me. Yeah. I think way too many of us learn stuff from school. We learn stuff from our friends, and now we're growing up. We're adults now. We're like, like I didn't fact check any of that. Like I never researched. I never said it. I just believed that this person was gay and that this person was wrong, and that these people are evil.
And even when you grow up, even when you grow up, I feel like after you know about sex, you then need to talk to somebody about how to please that person. Because for women, you have a lot of women that are dating guys and they just bumbling around in there. I was one of them. You put me in the game, coach. I'm going hard and I'm going home. I didn't think nothing about
No technique.
I'm just getting it. I'm going until I get mine. That's it.
Sheer power of will.
Yes. And I'm just going at it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think I dated an older woman and I was using that same technique, and it was her that was like, you gotta do this. You what? Slow down. Slow down, Simba. We're gonna get you in the right way.
I lost my virginity to a 45-year-old woman.
Hey.
She taught me the ropes.
And that's where it started. They give you the foundation.
Right.
Because all you know about is putting it in and going in. They got to give you a foundation to where you're going in and they're teaching you about a woman's body. And the same thing for women. Women need to learn how to know. I think women, one of the biggest things I've learned from being intimate with women throughout my life, a lot of women don't know their bodies. Especially a lot of times you're being taught, especially in church, not to masturbate, not to do this. I can take care of me better than any woman I know.
I talked to my little cousin.
Give me about 30 minutes, close my door, and I'm good.
And I won't even fall asleep with my hands in my pants.
Not at all.
I'm professional enough to go wash my hands. Like, it's done. It's done. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Start there.
You know how many times I've been out in relationships throughout the years, and the girl tried to give me something at the end of the night, and I didn't know if I was going to get some, so I took care of it so I ain't going crazy throughout the night. They try to give you something, and I'm like, yeah, it's not going. I'm a honest person. I'm like, I already took care of it. I need a couple more hours before that shit refills up for me to give you anything. Why did you do that? I didn't know I was going to get nothing tonight, so I had to make sure that my mind ain't going crazy and my balls don't hurt. Like you're saying. That's blue ball. That shit is, he's coming into
I can't tell you how many dollars I've saved, how many headaches I've saved, and how many children I don't have because I jerked off instead of going out.
Hey, I'm telling you.
You know?
When I jerk out, I don't
My
have to
buddy
jerk
used to
out.
always tell me,
Jerk out.
I would text my buddy at 1 o'clock in the morning. I text my
Choke
buddy
him
at
out.
school at 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, look at this shit. You know? And he'd say, just jerk off. And you're just like, oh.
I'm telling you, when I masturbate, I don't think about nothing else. Don't nothing worry me. When I'm telling you, like if you worried about a girl, like a girl on the phone, like it's been times where I'm in relationships and other girls trying to get at me, and it's like I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble. Let me take care of this now. So where if they start talking that yak, you're like, okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah, sorry. And that is already taken care of.
Yeah.
Not busting a nut will get you in
Still have
trouble.
your mind all over the
Whoa
place.
wee.
It's like going to the store when you're hungry, man.
And you ain't got no money. You be ready to steal some shit.
And on that note,
Right.
So
Like, I'm just sitting back, like taking note of like the entire podcast, and like the way that we've gone to end it like this is just it's wonderful.
because nobody ever heard the beginning.
Yeah.
Right,
Nobody
exactly.
got any idea how these conversations
like
happen.
Gabrielle said last
No.
week, that's great. So before we get off, I want to Reg, let them know where they can find you at on social media.
Oh, I'm at Reg Attitude. I'm gonna have to spell it out because
Yes,
y'all know how to
spell it
spell
out too.
my name. REGADETULA. That's me on Twitter, and I'll be tweeting about sports all the time.
And
So
we didn't get to do sports, but I'll probably call you to where we can do it. And we want to have you back, man. I like having you.
Did you do sports?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I have no idea what y'all talking about. Your voice. Oh, that's great.
thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. His team got it, so thank you.
Back to you, Bob.
Yes.
And where can they find you on social media?
Oh, you guys can find me right over here on WKFM.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it. Anybody can change their voice, but like when I thought about radio like that, in that sense, I'm like, I don't know if I can carry it on for 4 hours.
You get used to it.
Yeah, I know.
And obviously it helps that I like hearing myself talk.
Yeah, Lance wanted me to do it, and I was like, I don't think I can do it. It's hard for me to do something without cursing. I'm just telling him I'm not that trained.
Right.
He'll hit a foul ball and he misses, like, what the fuck? How did you? No.
It's like I was looking at. Okay.
Yeah, give us how we can find you.
I guess you could look up Jason Criddle on social media. I'm not as active in social media as I should. I got about 20-something books on Amazon. Look up the Smarter app and the Smarter Founder. If somebody wants to.
Is that spelled
software?
different?
SMARTR. Got it. I appreciate you saying that because I was just going to say Smarter.
Well, I wasn't going to say nothing, but I knew it was spelled different. I was just setting you up. I'm good at
That's
this.
a layup.
I got you.
I appreciate it.
Call me Kyrie.
No, you don't want to be covered. Go ahead, tell where they can find you at, guys.
I'm naturally_G3s on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat.
All right, and you can find me at Sir Robert Poe on Instagram and Twitter. On Facebook, it's just Anthony Robertson. Keep in contact with us. And all things The Reality Is at www.therealityis.com. That's THA The Reality Is. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Anchor, and Facebook at The Reality Is.
Hey, we're gonna put out a DVD for this episode. All the lost episode.
That's what it's gonna be.
That way
Better
people
not
can get
bring
the
your
whole
kids.
thing.
Better not bring your kids.
And we got Harper, man. Thanks for coming through. You know, he wanted to come through and see how we get down in the studio. So, hey, man, we signing off. Always remember, inhale, courage, exhale, success. Until next week, we'll all let y'all. Y'all take it easy.